Drop it.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wasallam. Amma ba'du. Before I want to tell you about I made this video and the goals is to fulfill my college assignment. The subject is semantic and pragmatics, but I want to tell you about a little explanation about noun vocabulary. And then before the video presentation, I would like to tell you about myself first. My name is Novita Sari from Faculty of Teacher Training and Science, 6th semester English Department in Universitas Islam Nusantara at Soekarno-Hatta Street, Bandung. Okay, before the video presentation, let's begin to reading Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, now we are going to the video presentation about noun vocabulary. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This video presentation is about noun vocabulary. Overview noun vocabulary. Noun form a majority of the word in the vocabulary of English, in contrast to the undimensional meanings of adjective explored in chapter 2. In this chapter outlines way of describing the complexity, starting with sense relation, writer call has relation. The thing denotes by some noun have parts, which may figure in the noun's meaning. For example, a square has 4 equal sides. One cannot avoid it talking about its 4 sides and right angles. Also dealt with in the chapter is the way nouns are grouped into semantic category. For example, is square, circle, and triangle belongs together as shapes. In semantic terms, to be introduced below, square, circle, or triangle are hyponym of subordinate word shape. Contrast between the different kind under a given subordinate are mainly captured through a sense relation called incompatibility, also to be explained soon. And then the chapter ends with discussion of meaning differences between count and mass noun. This relation has to be restricted to prototypes for some word. The everyday words square, circle, and triangle are also technical terms in geometry, where they have tight definition. For example, a closed straight-side figure is a triangle if and only if it has exactly 3 sides. For many words, however, we can only be sure that all the parts are there if the has relation is stated in terms of prototypes. Prototypes are clear central member of the denotation of a word. The information that needs to be built into meaning postulates on the chapter 2 to reflect this semantic fact is listed in the example. Prototype face and house. A prototype face has 2 eyes. A prototype face has a nose. A prototype face has a mouth. A prototype house has a roof. A prototype house has a door. A prototype house has a window. Again, that prototype face and house may have other parts besides those listed for this example. For example, check and chin for the face, and perhaps bedroom and kitchen for the house. I have merely tried to list the main ones. Importantly, there are also many things that the prototypes do not have, like blemish and carport, even though this may be part of many real face and house respectively. Restricted to prototype, the has relation make available entailments. Some examples are given. Here is a house at the corner. If it is like a prototype for house, then it has a roof. The child drew a face. If the prototypical, then the child drew a mouth. Okay. Entailment. Chapter 1, were introduced as guarantees. Here, the guarantees are weakened by making them conditional on prototypicality. The entailed proposition in the example start with if. Start with if, because it seems that average English words are not as tightly defined as technical words like triangle, given that the has relation has to be restricted to prototype for some word. It simply is better to do the same for all words that enter this relation. Okay, next, pragmatic inferences from the has relation. The has relation restricted to prototypes in the base for some of our pragmatic expectation in language use. This can be seen a switch from indefinite to definite article. A noun phrase that first brings something into a conversation is usually indefinite. For example, marked by means of an indefinite article a or an. But on second and subsequent mention of the something in the conversation, it will be referred to be means of the definite noun phrase, marked by, for example, the definite article D, as in example, I've bought a house. Where is the house? The response of this example is, I've bought a house. I hope the roof doesn't leak. However, if a whole that has a part has been mentioned, when the part can on first mention be referred to be means of the definite noun phrase, as illustrated by the use of D in the response of this example. Then this response is, I've bought a house. I hope the roof doesn't leak. Okay, next. Okay, the part can have parts. Part can exist in the absence of the large whole. For instance, a builder person keeps stock of window for houses that have not yet been built. And then the same kind of part can belong to different kind of whole. For example, is a given car need to be part of a street. It could be part of street parking lot. Okay, word detoning whole bear the has relation to the labels for their parts, but the parts can in turn have parts, and a whole can be a part of larger whole. I have not posited in first relation to the has a relation, one that would guarantee the existence of the relevant large whole whenever a part of it is present. This is because part can exist the absence of the large whole. Okay, this is because part can exist in the absence of the large whole. For instance, is newly cast or hewn curved stone can be lying around and not be a part of any street. Spatial part. Okay, spatial part. In terms of a thing having spatial part marking the position of such part characteristic of prototype in the thing category. A prototype thing such as a rock can be said to have a top, a bottom or base, sides, and a front and back. 2 points need to be noted about this word. One is that they are general for many different kinds of things: window, face, feet, views, trees, canyon, to randomly name just a few, have tops, bottom, side, front, and backs. And then the other notable feature of spatial part word is that there are often deity. Okay, pragmatic enters the interpretation of deitic word. Example of two kind of spatial part is number one is having inherent spatial part. People, house, trees, top, base, side. Hills have top, base, and side. Animals and pianos. And then having spatial part only deictically, balls, planets in the talk of amateurs looking through a telescope. Yes, trees have front and back. Trees have front and back, and hills have front and back also. Fuller account, for instance, it is possible to get deitic centrality to someone being addressed, as when speaking from behind a tree, a person say, just open your eyes and you'll see the notice from where you are. It is found on the front of the tree. Okay. Next, end and beginning. Long, thin, have ends, and sometimes two different kinds of end are distinguished: beginning and ends. Okay, for a list of some of the things that prototypically have ends is given in ropes, road, trains, playing, and then noun denoting period of time have beginning and end. There also have middles. Example is day, week, month, era, term, semester, century. And the word in this example is do not denote constraint, concrete. Do not The word in this example do not denote concrete entities that you could touch or stub your toe on, but the event and process that they can be used to refer to are not the least located in time and space, which is to say that is it reasonable to wonder when and where conversation, demonstration, and support took place. They can also have beginnings, middles, and end, which is in the chapter 4 and 6 will be seen to be involved in verb meanings. Next. This is a hyponymy. Hyponymy. This relation is important for describing nouns, but it also figures in the description of verb and to a lesser extent adjective. It is concerned with the labeling of subcategories of a word denotation. Example is a house is one kind of building. And then the pattern of entailments that defining hyponymy is illustrated in example. There is a house next to the gate. There is a building next to the gate. And then if it is true that there is a house next to the gate, then with respect some get the same point in history, it must be true that there is building next to the gate. It cannot be otherwise. On the other hand, if we are give this example as true information, that we cannot be sure that this example is true. It might be true, but there are other possibilities. The building next to the gate could be a barn or any other kind of buildings. That is why the second half on this example has been scored out to show that thought it called follow does not have to follow from this example. Okay, next is hierarchy of hyponymy. Hierarchies of hyponymy, a subordinate at a given level itself, a hyponym at a higher level. The hyponym relation passes through intermediate level in the hierarchy. Okay, look at the picture. Okay, this is a picture about subordinates can be hyponym and vice versa. This picture say a house is hyponym of building. Okay, building is subordinate. Okay, a house hyponym of a subordinate building, but building is in turn a hyponym of the subordinate structure, and in this turn, structure is a hyponym of subordinate things. A subordinate at given level can itself be a hyponym and at a higher level. Okay, as so in this picture, and then the significance of hyponym passing through intermediate level. Intermediate level is that hierarchy of this kind guarantees numerous inferences. Thus, if someone who is speaking the truth tells you about a house, we know with certainty and without having to ask that the entity in question is a building, that is a structure, and that is a thing. Okay. High in the hierarchy, the sense of word, the specification that determine their denotation are rather general and undetailed, which has the consequence that these words denote many different kinds of entity. At successively lower level, the meaning are more detailed, and therefore the word denote narrow range of things this figure. Okay, this is hyponym phase through intermediate level. Next, this is a part of hyponym hierarchy of English noun. This is found by Miller and Feldbaum, 1991. Found that a hyponym hierarchy with 26 higher level subordinates such as time, plants, animals, and so forth provides a place for every English noun. The highest three levels in the picture are largely based on the description of the hyponym hierarchy for noun in English. Okay, for noun in English, and then to keep the diagram manageable, however, I have made 19 of their 26 higher level subordinates, so this figure represents merely a tiny sample of the full picture. Next, hyponym and has relation. These two semantic relations should be not confused. Hyponym is about categories being grouped under subordinate term. For example, tandem, race, tourist are kind of bicycle, unicycle, and tricycle are kind of cycle. The has relation concern part that prototypical member of categories have A prototype cycle has wheels, a frame, handlebar, and pedals. A prototype bicycle has this part too and also has a chain. And then, note that the inherent discourse here passed down through hyponymy. Hyponymy, it does not pass down to part or parts. A prototype in the hand category hand, a palm, and pincher, but that does not lead you to expect a prototype palms to have their own palm and pincher. Final point about interaction between the has relation and hyponymy, it must be pointed out that part word can enter directly into subordinate and hyponym relation. Rise, knuckles, knee, and ankles are hyponym of the subordinate joint. Limbs is a subordinate for arm and leg. Lid is a hyponym of top. It is the top of container. This is incompatibility. Small hyponym hierarchy is shown in this example. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are hyponym of meal. Their immediate subordinate hyponym guarant is that if we hear that some people had a breakfast in Calais, then we know that they had a meal in Calais because a breakfast is one kind of meal. However, there is no similarly straight entailments from a sentence with the subordinate from a sentence containing meal to the corresponding sentence with one of its hyponym. If we are told that some people had a meal in Calais, we can conclude just from that they had breakfast there. It might have been a lunch or dinner. What about relation between hyponym like breakfast, lunch, and dinner? A semantic relation called incompatibility holds between the hyponym of a given subordinates. Hyponymy is about classification. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are kinds of meal, but incompatibility is about contrast. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are different from each other within the category of meals. They are eaten different times of day. The pattern of entailment that provides the test for incompatibility is exemplified in this numerous breakfast. Okay, for example, this is Novita's breakfast, this is Novita's lunch, this is Novita's dinner. Okay, the entailment chapter the fact that provide to refer on this stay constant. If one of the sentence in the example is true, then the other two sentences made by substitution of incompatibility. Again, next, further points about incompatibility. The relation of antonymy introduced in chapter 2 exhibit the same pattern of entailments. There are entailments from affirmative sentence to negative sentence containing the antonym, but no from negative sentence to the corresponding affirmative. For example, is long and short. There are antonyms, okay? And then for synonyms, synonym introduced in synonym yield an exception to generalization that hyponyms of a given subordinate are incompatible with each other. The following are all hyponym of seat, chair, bench, stool, sofa, or seat. The relation of incompatibility hold between most of the and then non-synonymous of a word immediately subordinate to them are not only incompatible with each other but are also incompatible with hyponym of their higher level subordinates. Our incompatibility is not pure unconstrained difference. Incompatibility is difference again a background of similarity. Remember that hyponyms of any subordinate have as their meaning the meaning of the subordinate plus some modification. For instance, a tumbler is a glass without a stem, and a glass is a drinking vessel made of a glass. And the meaning given here from a tumbler, the modifier without a stem record the difference between a tumbler and other glass and glass represent the similarity that the meaning of tumbler has with the meaning of wine glass, martini glass, and all the other kind of glass. Okay, the last one is count noun and mass noun. In the grammar English, there is a clear distinction between count nouns, example by loaf and coin, and mass noun, example by bread and money. The whole noun vocabulary divides into words that are almost always count noun. Garment, for instance. one that there are always must noun like clothing, and ambiguous one which can be used as either must or count noun like cake. Okay, this must noun resists being quantified with numbers and plural suffixes or the word many or the singular in the finite article. Okay, while count nouns can be quantified in this way. Count nouns denote distinguishable whole entities like beings or people or sphere. They can be counted. Nouns are quantified with the word much. They denote undifferentiated substance. They denote undifferentiated substance like dove or water or lava. Okay. Can noun and must noun, though they do not enter the has relation, must noun can figure in hyponym and incompatibility just as count noun too. Therefore, only count nouns bear has relation to labels for their parts. Must noun do not enter the has relation, except in cycle chemistry, but this is another story. Okay. The conclusion is in this chapter is introduced three semantic relations that are important source of entailment possibilities, contributes to sentence by nouns. The has relation concerned with the parts that prototype members of categories hyponym, which link word into hierarchies where subordinate word group together the kind that comprise them, and incompatibility, which is the relation holding between the different non-synonymous hyponyms of subordinates. Antonym, introduced in chapter 2, is a special case of incompatibility. It was shown that word detoning parts can themselves bear has relation to their own parts, that they can be subordinate to their own hyponyms, and that hyponym inherit part from their subordinate. Alhamdulillah, finished for the video presentation about noun vocabulary. I hope you are understood and thank you for your attention. Sorry for my mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.